We watched...
I bought and shot. Okay, my head kind of... It's crooked, I'll fix it.
We watched...
That didn't work.
I don't know if it's Losas or Cosas de Hempras, aka Female Trouble, because for some reason I couldn't find a copy. Either couldn't find a copy of the American or British release, because I don't think it has a UK release, or it was much cheaper to get one from Spain.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah. This is a Patron request for Backseat Critique. It's actually been on the burner for a while. Basically, I received a lot of Patron Backseat Critique requests, and you know, when Robin was here, Robin would be like, "I gotta be up in 3 hours to go to work," and I'm like, "Do you want to watch a film for Backseat Critique?" Sure. So you know, Robin was on.
Sound like that.
I know, but you got to differentiate when you're doing the character. I can't impersonate Robin. No one can. Not even Robin can.
That's true.
And Omega, though, she's much more sensible when it comes to time. She insists on like having sleep, and she has...
I do though. I was like, we need to film this. We need to do lesbian talk. I need to get to bed by 11:30. I have to have sex tomorrow.
Yeah, plus
for like a 10-hour shift.
She has like 5 jobs at once. So yes, this has taken us a long time to get through the pile of DVDs that I got for these. I think I've got 1 left for a Backseat Critique Patron request, 1 or 2. Anyway, apologies this took so long. You also requested Desperate Living. That's the next Hagen Reviews. That should be going up in a few days. So
are you sure this patron isn't like secretly John Waters?
Pretty sure it's not. But I have a
I know what movies you could do, he said.
If you are John Waters, please write the show.
You said it this time.
At least I hope there's one. I have a terrible memory, so maybe in my mind I've connected.
She always be like, patrons, if I owe you things, just holler because I forget who you are.
Yeah, and like, for instance, I've got a copy of Violence Jack, like some episodes of the anime, that I got for a patron request, and I can't recall if it's for Hagen Reviews or for a Backseat Critique, and if you requested it, please let me know so I can know, because otherwise I'm probably going to end up just doing it episode by episode like a TV show review. And
see, this is why I have a spreadsheet for my patrons. The more you know.
I spend all my time making videos.
I can make a spreadsheet for you.
Yeah, but then you have to be involved in what happens in my show, and you don't like that.
That's true.
Because then you're like, they requested what? They want August Underground Mordem? You've got to watch that yet. I showed it to Barry, and Barry...
Is this the one that made Barry say he's not gonna talk to you anymore?
Yes.
So Barry came to our work. He's friends with us. Like
Barry's never been in any videos, but he sort of recently become my watching films with buddy.
Yeah.
For notes.
And I was like, hey, what's the crack? He's like, hey. And I'm like, oh, I'll say to Zara that I saw you. And he's like, yeah. I don't know, she had me watch this movie, and like, I don't know, we have to set some ground rules and boundaries. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm fine with like gore, but this was just like really over the top. And I was like, don't worry, I'll sort it. And he's like, okay, well the next time I have a problem, I'll talk to you instead of...
Well, I need to watch it with you or someone else to get a second set of notes so I can script it.
Watch it with Nicola. All the Avatar of decent humor.
She does not... She and Teddy refuse to watch films for notes taking anymore.
Because you traumatized them too many times. This is what's going to happen. You destroy
This is why eventually I need to switch over to newer people. Because, you know, I'm...
New blood.
No one else can handle it, apparently.
We can try to rope in Laura if she ever moves up to the north. That's the friend of mine who we were going to go see the Disaster Artist with, and it didn't come together. Because one of the first conversations that we had was in 3rd year. Because we've been together in the same the same class for 3 years. See, I told you it was crooked. There you go. And she's like, hey, you like movies, right? You were talking about it on Facebook. I'm like, yeah. She's like, have you ever heard of this movie? It's really bad. It's called The Room. And I said, oh, you sweet summer child. Do you know what my wife does for a living?
Yeah, Laura's...
Google Diamanda Hagen.
Laura is, you know, she's from the Reach. And I know her surname is Manderley. And eventually we hope that she'll move to the north.
Are you making a Game of Thrones reference? I meant the north, like Northern Ireland, or at least Donegal.
House Manderley was from the Reach, and they moved from the Reach to the north at some point in the past in Westeros' history.
So they could take advantage of the NHS? But this was, I wouldn't call it a movie, but it was a moving visual medium.
It was a movie.
It just kept happening. Like, things just kept happening, and you're like, okay, we're done. No, and
see,
things just...
Omega has seen exactly 2 John Waters films now. This and Desperate Living.
Well, that had a narrative arc. There was something to overcome. There was a climax. There wasn't really a denouement because it was like climax and then credits. But isn't that just the way?
Yeah, John Waters. I've seen most. So this is the first I've seen Female Trouble. I'm fairly sure, but his stuff.
Why was it called that? It wasn't even about cramps or anything.
It was originally called Rotten Hearts, Rotten Minds, but he changed the name towards the end because he was worried that people would use the term rotten as sort of as a way to get cheap jokes. The critics would have cheap jokes about the name of the film.
Okay.
But Waters' stuff, especially early Waters' stuff, he is a terrible director. In the same way that Kevin Smith was a terrible director at the very start. In that everything is basically incredibly unimaginatively filmed. It's like a stage play that has been done. He's done very little work with the actors.
And some of them seem to be native English speakers who learned their lines phonetically. Like the one guy that says the word industry in a really weird way twice.
Yeah. And
so it wasn't like, oh, you flipped your line by putting the wrong intonation on the wrong syllable. It just... Nah.
And, But with Waters, because everything else is so, and lack of story structure, so he's technically very, very deficient in a lot of areas, but everything else is so imaginative that it's not so much a problem with the film as it is a style, which I find fascinating and charming. And unlike Kevin Smith, it really improved as a director. I mean, like with, for instance, stuff like Red State and all, really should, compare that to Clerks.
Yeah, but now it's gone into that weird, crazy auteur place.
The Canadian trilogy. I'm enjoying the True North trilogy.
Triggered.
But Smith has really developed as a director.
Move over because I have to lean to be in the shot.
Sorry.
My hip. There we go.
But Waters never really did. He stayed very basic. He stayed in his sort of style. And although he obviously became much less risque as time went on, but I still find it really charming. And
I just realized something. I'm really shocked that he didn't invent reality TV.
No, reality TV was made in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, but I'm that would be because there's a line where or one woman says oh, just imagine all the horrible, disgusting things that go on in other people's lives. And I'm like, wow, that sums up reality TV, in just one neat little complete sentence. He would have been great at reality TV like the 80s. Just saying.
I am a Waters fan. Cecil B. Demented is my favourite one of his. And I find something really invigoratingly unrestrained about his early stuff, which includes Female Trouble, Pink Flamingos.
There were only 2 dicks in this one.
Yeah.
There were more dicks in Desperate Living.
It was much... This is a lot less shocking than it would have been at the time. Desperate Living is about as shocking simply because the things that they've chosen to put on screen in Desperate Living, it's we've got one of the characters is possibly, maybe a trans man. At the time, that was shocking in itself. Now it's shocking by how horribly it's done. So it's still just as shocking. It's just why it's shocking has changed. But, this is pretty much... The stuff that it's talking about is a lot less shocking now than it was. So that's the way it's dated most, I feel.
I didn't like it. There wasn't a cohesive narrative. There was vaguely a timeline, and you're like, okay, where are we going with this? You see characters that you think, oh, okay, they're a character now, but they're not.
That's because he's not developed
people leave,
scripts yet.
Her husband leaves the movie halfway through, besides reminding me of this asshole I knew who was a 6-foot gelfling. Really, he was. I just... And all the sets, even though, they did occur in buildings, it just gives you the feeling that you're looking at 2 walls in a corner because they've been done, with a high school prop setup.
And because Waters insists on just filming one side of a room.
Yeah, so it really does feel like it's a play. It really does feel like it just gives it this kind of, dreamlike quality of this doesn't really exist, the walls aren't permanent, this isn't a real thing that's happening.
It's a similar problem with the early Kevin Smith. It's also a similar problem with how we film the episodes of the review, but that's because we literally have a couple of hours to film it all.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that's a thing. Filming in front of a wall, that's a thing. In a chair in front of your computer with the rest of your room behind you, that's also a thing. That's the YouTube thing now. Yeah. That's how film has changed. So that's fine. But back in the day, we had buildings with floors and ceilings and 4 walls, allegedly.
I gotta say, the most simple is when we were watching this,
we haven't actually said what the movie's about.
It's a John Waters film.
I don't know what this movie's about.
There's glamour.
Eyeliner.
There's people who look like drag queens. There's violence, and there's sort of sexual stuff going on. It's early Waters. You know what to expect. You've either
There's
seen it or you know.
a lot of flashbacks where the 60s are played by the 70s.
Yeah. But while we're watching it, because, I've been working my Desperate Living review, I decided to look up the cast to see, because obviously I was recognizing a bunch of actors from Desperate Living. And obviously there's the famous ones like Mink Stole. Like, why the fuck has Mink Stole never got a proper career? I mean, she's a constantly working actor, but she never hit the big time, and it makes no fucking sense. Like, there's Edith Massey, but looking through the cast list, and it's like, oh my god, the most depressing thing is, like, how many of these people died young.
Yeah, like, didn't, like, one woman die of AIDS?
Yeah, one of them died of AIDS, another one died of blood loss after an accident while drunk. It's just like, oh no. Other ones died sort of slightly older, but about half the cast's dead. It's like, oh, it's sad. Obviously the most famous one being Divine, who died in the 80s of a heart attack. At the height, Divine was on the cusp of becoming mainstream Hollywood. Whenever she died, that was so tragic.
I believe you.
It's depressing.
All right, psychology time. Because I made a statement when we were watching this. I said I don't like the drag queen like eye makeup thing, and I was like, I don't think it's like a gender thing or a transphobic thing, because that same kind of makeup, even like on a cis woman, I just find sinister and upsetting. And you said, well, maybe it's like related to the clown thing, and I'm like, no, that's more about the mouth and the fake smile than the eyes. There's very little eye makeup going on with clown. It's more of the mouth. And so I have this theory that it's a cultural product of the generation that I'm in, that I would draw allusions to Maleficent and the Evil Queen from Snow White, the Disney versions. So if you have any theories about this, comment below. If you feel the same way but you don't know why, we'll have a chat.
Waters did a commentary on this DVD.
Oh dear. We're not watching that next. We have to record Lesbian Talk.
Yes, we have to record Lesbian Talk.
There's only going to be one Psych Media in December because, sorry about that, patrons.
Because Omega is working like a motherfucker.
I really am. I've got to get a paper draft out in the next, 3 weeks about schizophrenia, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, even though I have shit on John Waters' directing ability, or directing style, whichever it is, there is one bit that I was like, holy shit, because the bit where Don Davenport is having sex with the really, really unpleasant guy at the start, it wasn't until the scene later I realized that the really unpleasant guy was also played by Divine. So that was, either that was really sort of cleverly edited together and, you wouldn't notice, or I was not paying much attention. But then again, Bad Taste, Peter Jackson's first film, has a bit where he has a fight scene with himself on top of a cliff, and you can basically not tell, even though they were filmed a year apart.
Yeah, but wasn't Bad Taste the film that exposed him as this incredible special effects genius?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, he was not exposed.
Not exposed him aha, we always knew.
Jackson was definitely not exposed as a great scriptwriter from Bad Taste, given that there wasn't one. But yeah, I like A Female Trouble. Not as much as Sesame Demented, because it is my favorite. It's been a long time since I watched a lot of Waters films, like Pecker and Dirty Shame. It's been a long time since I've seen Pink Flamingos.
Basically just people just being trashy.
Yeah, but it's much more harmless whenever Hairspray happens.
It's much more harmless because it's not reality TV where people are actually trashy, and that's really upsetting and depressing. You're like, wow, so this is not just a metaphor for the cycle of poverty and stuff like that. It's actually real poverty and people's mental illnesses, and that's really horrible.
Or it's John Waters being all like,
no, I meant where here it'd be, oh, this is an artistic metaphor for this, things and stuff. But when you watch actual reality TV, and they're like, oh no, this is someone's actual mental illness on the television for everyone to watch. It's kind of upsetting.
I am dressed as the Virgin Mary of the TARDIS.
I don't know why. She just put that blanket on her.
It's the TARDIS blanket, so this is my symbolic representation of the 13th Doctor.
I got it for Christmas a few years back from my parents from Think Geek. So they were like, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, I have a wish list.
TARDIS blanket.
Yeah, but so I feel bad, patron, because I feel like I should be giving you more to laugh at, and I didn't like it.
You were just like, this was her face the entire time,
Nobody wore a bra. I mean, I guess it was the 70s.
With that guy's mustache. One guy totally has the ancestor of
Yes.
Kenneth Branagh's Poirot mustache.
Like going up his face into his ears. And I don't know, I was just... I did like the one wall that they had in their house that was meant to be their bedroom. It was all like black with sparkles and blue on it. So it was like...
the space wall?
Yeah, so it was like all those like galaxy cakes and like galaxy everything that you see on Pinterest and Instagram. So that was pretty cool. I want that wall. But there was nothing else redeemable about this.
This was apparently inspired by John Waters' friendship with Tex Watson, the member of Charles Manson's family, who he became friends with after visited him in jail, because that's what Waters does apparently in his time off, visits members of the Manson family. And this film
we can't visit Charles Manson now; he's dead.
Yeah, but he.
Oh no, this will date the Backseat critique. Oh no.
What, is he going to become less dead?
No, because people will be like, they'll know that this happened at a certain time because Charles Manson has passed away.
Yeah, but he's not going to become undead, so the fact that he's dead is not going to date it.
No, but dating me like they'll be able to know when this was. It's not timeless. It's not a timeless Backseat critique anymore.
Yes,
you can't listen to this anytime.
Yes, it is, because Charles Manson's going to stay dead.
Yes, but like they will have known that it happened after a specific point.
Well, this obviously is already not timeless because it happened after this was filmed. Hello to the year 4083. I'm guessing you don't understand us, but there's like some crazy subtitles, but I'll try to speak in your modern version of English.
What if... Stop, you're being racist.
No, it wasn't.
You're being racist against people from the year 4000.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fucking 4000ers.
What if it's like Assassin's Creed Origins and like we're like the precursor society and they're like, oh, what secrets do they have to tell? And we're like, let me tell you what about John Waters. They're like, oh, what does it mean? They must have been holy people. Look at her headdress. Obviously, she was holy. Our Lady of the TARDIS. I'm sorry, Patron. I wish I could be more angry for you. And I was just kind of like, nah.
No,
I thought it'd be funnier if I was drinking, and I was drinking during it, but I was still like, nah.
Just like, it just cancelled out the fun for me.
Yes. Then we had cake. It was a snowman cake. Stop it. I don't do that. No. No. It didn't even have buttercream icing. It had that weird paste gum icing that's really popular in the UK. I don't like. I like buttercream icing. But yeah, this was
female driver.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people's private parts. I wasn't prepared for that. So I hope that was all you dreamed of and more, Patron. But don't worry, because I had to watch Desperate Living too, so I could help write notes for it. So some of my jokes made it into the review, I'm told.
Yeah, and so sad all the actors, like early Water stuff, you know, like the whole thing had the air of amateurness because it pretty much was. And a lot of the actors were not actors, they were like Waters' friends and acquaintances. Later on, when he hit more mainstream stuff, he got real actors, but he continued to give cameos to his original ones. But it's such a unique feel early Waters stuff has. And I like it in the same way that I like Brad's early stuff over his later stuff, because it was a lot more raw. Brad's current stuff is like filmed in HD DV stuff.
How dare he? Next will be 4K.
Yeah, it looks really good. It actually looks like a professional sort of thing. Well,
Damn it,
early
Brad,
stuff filmed on
down.
VHS where you can't fucking see anything. That was legit, man.
Oh, you know what you sound like? Oh, also, so there was a guy who had a bit part as a doctor. He sounded like Kyle. Oh my god.
He did.
We think he came from the same, like, region of Maryland that
So
Kyle
yeah,
was.
someone asked Kyle, as in Kyle Colgren, if his dad was in a Waters film, because I was like, holy
Because I said,
fuck.
do you know what that guy sounds like? What? He sounds like Kyle. No, he doesn't. Like, alright, the tone and timbre and pitch of his voice, but the intonation, the way he stresses certain syllables, his diction, it sounds like Kyle. Oh my god, you're right. I'm like, my
He's
good.
like from like same town as Kyle or something. He's just like,
Yeah. But so, there you go. Like I always say, I hope it was all you dreamed of and more.
all you
Because
can
it
dream
wasn't
of, unless.
what I dreamed of at all. I dreamed of buttercream icing on my cake and I couldn't run.
I'm gonna probably add this to my extended review list, of which there's about 400 films.
There is though. Quesos de Herman. Would you stop making out with it? Like, why is this in Spanish? Because that's all I could find. It's not gonna be in Spanish, is it? No.
Okay, I obviously recently watched Desperate Living, and Mole seeing Susan Lowe, who plays Mole in this, it's just like, I realized that Mole was not like what Susan Lowe was like in real life, but having only seen her in that, only remembering seeing her in that, although she was in some of his later stuff, it's just like, I'm secretly disappointed that apparently she's not only not deeply angry all the time and not some sort of variant of trans man, but also was a femme and pregnant. And it's like, all my illusions have been shattered.
She cried.
I cried so much.
Terrible. We've only got 6 minutes of memory on it. Bye, friends. Bye, patrons. John Waters.